ॐ श्रीकृष्ण शरणं मम गोपिका जीवन स्मरणं गोविन्द गोविन्द सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। नमो नमः सद्गुरुभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो नमः सद्गुरुभ्यो नमो नमः। सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रय विनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। यं प्रव्रजन्तमनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरह कातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुः तं सर्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि। यस्वानुभावमखिलश्रुतिसारमेकम् अध्यात्मदीपम् अतितितीर्षतां तमोन्धं संसारिणां करुणयाः पुराणगुह्यं तं व्याससूनुमुपयामि गुरुं मुनीनां। योगीन्द्राय नमस्तस्मै शुकाय ब्रह्मरूपिणे संसारसर्पदष्टं यो विष्णुरातमहूमुचते कालव्यालमुखग्रास त्रासनिर्नाशहेतवे श्रीमद्भागवतं शास्त्रं कलौकीरेण भाषितम् एतस्मादपरं किञ्चित् मनःशुद्ध्यै न विद्यते जन्मान्तरे भवेत् पुण्यं तदा भागवतं लभेत् ज्ञानवैराग्यसम्पूर्णान् हरिभक्तिपरायणान् पूर्वाचार्यातहं वन्दे सम्प्रदायप्रवर्तकान् भगवन्नाम साम्राज्य लक्ष्मी सर्वस्व विग्रहं श्रीमद्बोधेन्द्र योगीन्द्र देशिकेन्द्रम् उपास्महे। कलिकालोचितं धर्मं नाम संकीर्तनात्मकं निर्णेतुम् अवतीर्णं तं प्रेमिकं सद्गुरुं भजे। हरे रामेति कृष्णेति नाम संकीर्तनं सदा लोकक्षेमाय कुर्वन्तं प्रेमिकं सद्गुरुं भजे। जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयात् इतरतश्चार्तेष्वभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि धर्मः प्रोज्झितकैतवोऽत्र परमो निर्मत्सराणां सतां वेद्यं वास्तवमत्र वस्तु शिवदं तापत्रयोन्मूलनम् श्रीमद्भागवते महामुनिकृते किं वा परैरीश्वरः सद्यो हृद्यवरुध्यतेऽत्र कृतिभिः शुश्रूषिभिस्तक्षणात् निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखात् अमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयम् मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। श्रीमद्भागवताख्योऽयं प्रत्यक्षः कृष्ण एव हि स्वीकृतोऽसि मया नाथ मुक्त्यर्थं भवसागरे मनोरथो मदीयोऽयं सफलः सर्वदा त्वया निर्विघ्नेनैव कर्तव्यो दासोऽहं तव केशव। श्रीहरये नमः श्रीहरये नमः श्रीहरये नमः। गोपिका जीवन स्मरणं गोविन्द गोविन्द सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। Good evening, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
So we'll start with the three review. Maybe Shobha, Ningo, can you do the third one? I think we stopped at 15. You can do till the end and maybe a couple stanzas, and then Revati, you can do the fourth one.
Okay. Right. நீங்கள் ஸ்டாப் பண்ண எப்போ நிறுத்தணும் சொல்லிட்டு சரியா? Okay. एवं संचिन्त्य भगवान् स्वराज्ये स्थाप्य धर्मजं नन्दयामास सुहृदः साधूनां वर्तदर्शयन् उत्तरायं धृतः पूरोः वंशसाध्वभिमन्युना स वै द्रौण्यस्त्रसिञ्जन्नः पुनर्भगवता धृतः।
Shobha, and the word sanchinnaha, second line. सवै द्रौण्यस्त्र अस्त्रं द्रौण्यस्त्र
सञ्चिन्नः पुनर्भगवता धृतः। Thank you. अयाजयद्धर्मासुदम् अश्वमेधैस्त्रिभिर्विभुः सोऽपि क्षमामनुजैरक्षन् रेमे कृष्णमनुव्रतः
So and shma and the full ksha கிடையாது. It's only a half ksha. So kshma manujai.
सोऽपि क्षमामनुजैरक्षन्. भगवानपि विश्वात्मा लोकवेदपदानुगः कामान् शिषेवेद्वारद्याम् असक्तः साङ्ख्यमास्थितः स्निग्धस्मितावलोकेन वाचा पीयूषकल्पया चरित्रेणावदत्येन श्रीनिकेतन चात्मना इमं लोक
चरित्रेण
चरित्रेण नवद्येन श्रीनिकेतेन चात्मना इमं लोकममुं चैव रमयन् सुधरां यदून् रेमे क्षणदया दत्त क्षणस्त्री क्षणसौहृतः तस्यैवं रममाणस्य संवत्सरगणान् बहून् दृढमेधेषु योगेषु विरगा समजायत दैवादिनेषु कामेषु दैवादीन स्वयं पुमान् को विस्रम्पेद योगेन योगेश्वरमनुव्रतः पुर्यां कदाचित् चित्क्रीडद्भिः करेक्टा ओके यदुभोजकुमारकैः कोपिता मुनयशेभुः भगवन्मदकोपिताः तदकदै भयैर्मासैः वृष्णिभोजान्तकादयः ययुप्रभासं सम्पृष्टाः हृदैर्देव विमोहिताः तत्र स्नात्वा पितृन्नेवान् ऋक्षीं स्वैव तदम्बसा तर्पयित्वादविभ्रेभ्यो गावो बहुगुणा ददुः हिरण्यं रजदं शय्यां वासांस्य जिनगम्बलान् यानं रदानिपान् कन्या धरामृत्तिकरीमपि अन्नं चोरुरसं तेप्यो तत्त्वा भगवदर्पणं गोविप्रार्थसावसूराः प्रेणमुर्भुविमूर्तभिः.
Last line. Go viprartasavash shuraha pranemur bhuvimurdavihi.
Go viprartasavasuraah. ஒரு விசர்க்கம் இருக்காங்க.
Shuraha, correct, yeah.
சூராஹ பிரேணேமுர்புவிமூர்த்தபிஹி.
Pranemur-bhuvi.
ஓ பிரா இந்த லைனை போட்டு வச்சிருக்கேன். ஓகே சாரி. प्रणेमूर्भुविमूर्तभिः इति श्रीमद्भागवते महापुराणे पारमहंस्यां संहितायां तृतीयस्कन्धे विदुरोद्धवसंवादे तृतीयोऽध्यायः. इति श्रीमद्भागवते तृतीयस्कन्धे अधचतुर्थोऽध्यायः. उद्धव उवाच अतते
पडवा. She'll do 3 more stanzas and then we can.
Okay, sorry. अददेतदनुज्ञाता भुक्त्वा पीत्वा च वारुणीं तया विप्रंसितज्ञानाः दुरुग्धैर्मर्मपस्पृशुः तेषां समरये दोषेण विषमीकृतचेतसां निर्लोचतिरभावासीद् वेणूनाम विमर्दनम.
Bhagavan. You stop there, but on the second stanza, a couple of things. On the first line, the Tesham Maireya Doshena.
நான் சாமான் சொல்லியிருப்பேன் definitely. Okay, sorry.
On the first line, Maireya Doshena.
Yes. Tesham Maireya Doshena.
Second line, first one, Nimlochati Ravavasit.
ஓ அதுவும் தப்பா சொல்லியிருப்பேன். ஓகே நிம்லோச்சதி ரவாவாசீத். ஓகே thank you. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
भगवान् स्वात्मा मायया गतिं ताम् अवलोक्य सः सरस्वतीम् उपस्पृश्य वृक्षमूलम् उपाविशत्.
First line swatma mayayaha. We added a visarga there.
Okay. स्वात्मा मायायाः. ओके. अहं चोक्तो भगवता प्रपन्नादिहरणेह भद्रीं त्वं प्रयाहीति स्वकुलं सञ्जिहीर्षणा. ईर्षुणामा அல்லது ஷுணாஹாவா?
Shuna.
ஷுணா. அதாபி தத்
பத்ரீமா பதரீமா
Badarim. Badarim.
बदरीं त्वं प्रयाहीति स्वकुलं सञ्जिहीर्षिणा अतापि तदभिप्रेतं जानन् अहम् अरिन्तम पृष्ठतो अन्वहमं भर्तुः पादविश्लेषणाक्षमः
அந்த அன்ப பிரேக் பண்ண வேண்டாம், முடிஞ்சதை you can just say it together. பிருஷ்டதோன்வகமம் அப்படி ஒரே வேர்டா.
ஓகே. अद्राक्षम् एकमासीनं विचिन्वन्दैतं पतिं श्रीनिकेतं सरस्वत्यां कृतकेतम् अकेतनं श्यामावातं विरजं प्रशान्तारुणलोचनं दोर्भिश्चतुर्भिर्विदितं पीतकौशाम्बरेणेश
The first word is Revati. Shyam avadatam.
Yeah. श्यामावतातं विरजं प्रशान्तारुणलोचनं दोर्भिश्चतुर्भिर्विदितं पीतकौशाम्बरेण च वामऊरौ अधिश्रित्य दक्षिणाङ्ग्री सरोरुहम् अपाश्रित अर्पकास्वत्तम् अग्रिशं त्यक्तपिप्पलं तस्मिन्
break பண்ணாம முடிஞ்சா if you are able to on the first in the ஊரவ் அதிஷ்ரித்ய போல ஊராவதிஷ்ரித்ய அது when you join it. Okay, anyway keep going. Yeah.
तस्मिन् महाभागवतो द्वैपायनः सुहृदस्का लोकान् अनुचरन् सिद्ध आससादयतृच्छया तस्यानुरक्तस्य मुनोर्मुहुन्तः प्रमोदभावानदकन्दरस्य आशृण्वतो माम् अनुरागहास समीक्षया विश्रमयन् उवाच. श्रीभगवान् उवाच वेदाहम् अन्तर्मनसीप्सितं ते ददामि यत्तद्दुरवापन्यैः सत्रे पुरा विश्वसृजां वसूनां मत्सिद्धिकामेन वसो द्वयेष्टः स एष सातो शरमो भवानाम् आसादितस्ते मदनुग्रहो यत् यन्मां नृलोकान् रह उत्सृजन्तं दिष्ट्या दतृस्वान् विसदानुवृत्त्या पुरा मया प्रोक्तम् अजायनाभ्ये पद्मे निषण्णाय ममादिसर्गे ज्ञानं परं मन्महीमावपासं यत्सूरयो भागवतं वदन्ति इत्यादृतोक्तः परमस्य पुंसः प्रतीक्ष्णा अनुग्रहभाजनोऽहं स्नेहोतरोमोस्खलिदाक्षरस्तं मुञ्जन् सुच प्राज्ञलिराप भाष्ये
The first line the uktokah and the visarga bala f will come there. Okay, in the first line and the last line ityadrutoktah paramasya.
Okay. गोविन्द वीशते पाद सरोज बाजां सुदर्लभोर्तेषु चतुर्षवभिः तदापि नाहं प्रवृणोमि भूमन् भवत्पदाम्भोजनिषेवनोत्सुकः सुखः.
First word कोन वीश.
நான் என்ன சொன்னேன்? கோவிந்த் சொன்னேனா?
It's कोन वीश. Yeah, okay.
Okay. कर्माणि अनिहस्य भवस्यते दुर्गाश्रयो दारिपयात् पलायनं कलात्मनो यत् प्रमदायुताश्रयः स्वात्मन् हृदेः हित्यति तीर्विदामिह.
Second line first word कालात्मनो.
कालात्मनो. Okay. मन्त्रेषु मां वा उबहूय यत्त्वम् अकुण्ठिता कण्ठसदात्मबोधः भृच्छे प्रभो मुक्ते इवा प्रमत्तः तन्नो मनो मोहयतीव देव ज्ञानं परं स्वात्मरः प्रकाशं प्रोवाच कस्मै भगवान् समग्रम् अभिक्षमं नो ग्रहणाय पर्तः वादाञ्च सा यत् व्रजिनं
Vadanjasa, last line.
वदाञ्जसा यत् व्रजिनं तरेम. Is it tarema or
Tarema?
Okay. इत्यावेदितहार्ताय मह्यं स भगवान् परः आदिते शारविन्दाक्ष आत्मनः परमां स्थितिं स एवम् आराधित पादतीर्थात् अधीत तत्त्वात्मविबोधमार्गः प्रणम्य पादौ परिवृत्य देवम् इहाकदोहं विरहातुरात्मा.
Yeah, that's where we stop. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, thank you. Radhe Radhe.
All right. Okay, we'll continue. I think I'll just say the meaning for the rest of this chapter and then we'll continue. So just a recap, right, as to where we are in the story. So in this, the conversation is still happening between Uddhava and Vidura, right? As Vidura is kind of going in his Tirtha Yatra, he bumps into Uddhava. So Uddhava is talking about all the greatness of Krishna, Leela of Krishna, everything. And in this chapter, primarily, he talks about in the first part about how the Vrishnis and the Bojas and they all end up fighting one day, right? All of the incidents that happened around that and how in the last days when Krishna was actually reclining against a tree on the banks of Saraswati, Uddhava then ends up going and meeting Krishna there and Maitreya happens to come there. And at that time, they have a conversation where Uddhava is asking Krishna, you please tell me about this great Bhagavatam that you have told to Brahma and all of that. That was the prayer Uddhava does to Krishna. And then Krishna tells Uddhava, you're going to get liberated, but I want you to go to the Badarikashrama towards the end. So having said that, Krishna then tells the Bhagavatam to Uddhava and Maitreya. So that's not detailed here, just one line saying that Krishna said that. Right? So, then Uddhava says, then having heard that, he wants to leave Krishna because Krishna specifically told nobody can be there at the last moment, right? So Krishna has already told Uddhava, time for you to go. So he says, after having heard this from Krishna, then I did my namaskarams finally and I have left, right? I left Krishna and I'm on my way to Badarikashrama. So now he says, I've been just thinking about Krishna all the time. So I'm really desperate to go to Badarikashrama, right? Because that's where Nara, Narayana are still there meditating for hundreds and thousands of years. So that is the place where Krishna has told Uddhava, you have to actually go there. So he says, I'm actually going there right now. And, he says, so at that time, when Uddhava says that, so having heard everything from Uddhava, Vidura is still very, he's kind of absorbing all of these things, right? Because the entire Kaurava clan is gone. Then everybody in Krishna's clan, Vrishnis, Bojas, everybody is also gone right now. Everybody has left. And Vidura has been kind of completely shielded from all of this thing. But having heard some of this thing, he is feeling a little relieved, at least what are the last words that Krishna said. So when Uddhava is leaving, so at that time, Vidura is actually requesting Uddhava, saying, Vidura you have to think of it as, he's at the same level as Pandu and Dhritarashtra, right? He's at that level. He's their brother. Uddhava is at the same age as Krishna. So it's technically like his son, age-wise, I'm saying, relatively speaking. But Vidura really adores Uddhava because he says, that Uddhava, like there are certain people like you, although you're so much junior in age, your whole purpose in this earth is to spread the teachings of Krishna, right? So Vidura is like falling on his, literally falling and saying that I can't let you go because your sole purpose here, people like you are born to spread the teachings, right? And you heard this Bhagavatam directly from Krishna. How can I just let you go that easily, right? I know you have other things and I cannot let you go. So he says, I want you to please tell me that Bhagavatam that Krishna has told you directly, because I cannot find people like you who have directly heard it from Krishna himself, right? So at that time, Uddhava says, unfortunately, I can't tell it to you because there is a person who is waiting to tell it to you, which is Maitreya, who Krishna at the time when Maitreya and Uddhava heard it from Krishna, Krishna specifically tells Maitreya, this is what Uddhava is telling, that, oh Maitreya, I want you to pass this message to Vidura, right? So that's what Krishna specifically has told that. So Uddhava says, I cannot, because there's a person who's been specifically told to communicate this message to you. So having said that, Uddhava then takes leave, right? Uddhava then leaves at this point. So now Parikshit is asking at this point, at some point it'll come, Rajo Vacha, it's 28, right? So at that time, Parikshit is asking Shukha Brahmam at that time is, the people who were around Krishna, the great Vrishnis and the Bhojas, when Krishna decided to leave the earth, how is it that everyone was taken away? They are all so powerful and strong people. How were they all taken away? But only Uddhava was left. Why is that the case? Why was Uddhava chosen as the only person remaining when everybody else was completely gone, right? Either they were left over in Dwaraka and the tsunami or something came, wiped them out, or they were with Krishna at that other place at, Prabhasa, and then they fought and they killed each other, right? No trace remains. So Shukra Brahman then explains it very nicely, saying that the story about the sages cursing the Vrishnis and the Bhojas are just a story on the surface. It is just something that happened. They did not get eliminated because the sage cursed. Yeah, the sage cursed. That was just an incident which triggered that. But in reality, when Krishna decided that it's time for me to leave this place, he did not want any trace of him to remain, right? Because all the great supernatural powers of Krishna, all the things that he is capable of, all the things he had, all the remnants in Dwaraka, right? Even the Semantaka money and so many things we're going to talk about, all of these things, this could end up in wrong hands. And somebody who has this special knowledge about Krishna, they could spread wrong things. So he was very careful about what can remain that can transition over. And amongst all the people who are there, Krishna said, it seems, that Uddhava is no inferior to me. He's at the same level as me, right? So for me, the right person to remain, who has seen everything that Krishna has done, the only person who can truly remain is Uddhava. Because if anybody else remains, they are going to either, like you can think of any number of things, right? They could say wrong things, they could make money out of it, they could, start doing misinformation. So any number of things are possible. The only person who will truly communicate what is correct is Uddhava. So Krishna wiped out all traces of his existence between Dwaraka and Prabhasa and all the people who remain, and only Uddhava remains. He says that's why Uddhava was hand chosen specifically by Krishna to remain, because he had other purposes. I don't know what it is, but anyway, he ended up going to Badarikashrama. So that's what Shukra Brahman is explaining in this thing. And so now, so with that, Uddhava leaves. Shukra Brahman is saying, now Vidura, just imagine, right? When they say, when you are dying, you have to think about the God, right? But if someone comes and tell you, when Krishna was leaving, he mentioned your name last, right? That's what Vidura is hearing, right? So he's like completely overblown by this, he's just crying. He just cannot control himself, saying, how can Krishna remember me at the time of his departure? I'm just so blessed, right? Because very similar to Bhishma, right? Krishna remembered Bhishma before Bhishma passed away. That's why Krishna and all go to meet Bhishma. In this case, before Krishna is leaving, he's saying, okay, Maitreya, please go tell all of this to Vidura. And we'll see why that is a little bit in the next chapter. But anyway, so with this, the Uddhava Vidura conversation comes to an end. Okay, we started in 3.1 about the conversation between Uddhava and Vidura. That's come to an end. Vidura now leaves to the banks of Ganges in Haridwar, where Maitreya is meditating, which is what the next chapter starts. Okay, so we'll have, so Anand, you can be student, and Atta, you can be student. We'll start from 21. Soham tad darshanaahlada, Biyogharti yutaf prabho, Gamishye daitam tasya, Badaryashrama mandalam. Soham tad darshanaahlada, Biyogharti yutaf prabho, Gamishye daitam tasya, Badaryashrama mandalam.
Soham tad darshanahlada viyogatiyuda prabho gamishye deidam tasya bhadaryasrama mandalam. Soham tad darshanahlada viyogatiyuda prabho gamishye deidam tasya bhadaryasrama mandalam.
Gomati, in mute. You're on mute. You're on mute. We can't hear you.
Okay. Sorry. Soham darshanahlada viyogatiyuta prabho gamishye daitam tasya badaryashrama mandalam. Soham tad darshanahlada viyogatiyuta prabho gamishye daitam tasya badaryashrama mandalam.
Yatra Narayano Devo, Narascha Bhagavan Rishihi, Mridu Tivram Tapo Dhirgam, Te Pate Loka Bhavanau. Yatra Narayano Devo, Narascha Bhagavan Rishihi, Mridu Tivram Tapo Dhirgam, ते पाते लोकभावनौ
यत्र नारायणो देवो नरश्च भगवान् ऋषिः मृदुतीव्रं दीर्घं दीते बाधे लोकभावनो यत्र नारायणो देवो नरश्च भगवान् ऋषिः मृदुतीव्रं दीर्घं तव ते बाधे लोकभावनो.
That word before the comma, dirgham. Okay.
मृदु तीव्रं तवो दीर्घं. Thank you, Raj.
नारायणो देवो नरश्च भगवान् ऋषिः मृदुतीव्रं तपो दीर्घं ते पाते लोकभावनौ यत्र नारायणो देवो नरश्च भगवान् ऋषिः मृदुतीव्रं तपो दीर्घं ते पाते लोकभावनौ.
Shri Shuka Vacha Ityuddhavat Upakarnya. If you want to, it cannot, it's Iti Uddhavat, but the Uddhava word is coming there. Ityuddhavat Upakarnya, comma, Suhrudam Dussaham Vadham Jnanena Shamayat, one word, Jnanena Shamayat Kshatta, comma, Shokam Utpatitam Buddha. Shri Shukam Vacha Ityuddhavadupakarnya Suhrudam Dussaham Vadham Jnanena Shamayat Kshatta Shokamutpatitam Buddha.
इत्युद्धवादुपाकर्ण्य सुहृदां दुस्सहं वदं ज्ञानेन शमयत् क्षत्ता शोकमुत्पतितं बुधः. श्रीशुक उवाच इत्युद्धवादुपाकर्ण्य सुहृदां दुस्सहं वदं ज्ञानेन शमयत् क्षत्ता शोकमुत्पतितं बुधः.
उवाच इत्युद्धवादुपाकर्ण्य सुहृदां दुस्सहं वदं ज्ञानेनाशमयत् क्षत्ता शोकमुत्पतितं बुधः. श्रीशुक उवाच इत्युद्धवादुपाकर्ण्य सुहृदां दुस्सहं वदं ज्ञानेनाशमयत् क्षत्ता शोकमुत्पतितं बुधः.
Satam Mahabhagavatam, comma, Brajantam Kauravarshavaha Vishrambat Abhyadattedam. If you want to break it, that da Vishrambat Abhyadattedam, comma, Mukyam Krishna Parigrahe. Satam Mahabhagavatam Brajantam Kauravarshavaha Vishrambat Abhyadattedam Mukyam Krishna Parigrahe.
सतं महाभागवतं व्रजन्तं कौरवर्षभः विस्रम्भात् अभ्यदत्तेदं मुख्यं कृष्णपरिग्रहे. सततं महाभागवतं व्रजन्तं कौरवर्षभः विस्रम्भात् अभ्यदत्तेदं मुख्यं कृष्णपरिग्रहे.
भागवतं पर्यन्तं कौरवर्षभः विश्रम्भादभ्यधत्तेदं मुख्यं कृष्णपरिग्रहे. सतं महाभागवतं पर्यन्तं कौरवर्षभः विश्रम्भादभ्यधत्तेदं मुख्यं कृष्णपरिग्रहे.
Vidurau Vacha Jnanam Param Swatma Rahaf Prakasham, comma, Yadaha Yogeshwara Ishwaraste Vaktum Bhavanurhati, one word, Yadhi Vishnoho. So you put a Visarga comma there, Vishnoho. Next word on top of the Bhritya, there is a ir, you can remove it. Bhrityas Swa Bhrityartha Kritash Charanti. Short E. Vidurau Vacha Jnanam Param Swatmarahah Prakasham Yadaha Yogeshwara Ishwaraste Vaktum Bhavanurhati Yadhi Vishnoho Bhrityasva Bhrityartha Kritascharanti.
विदुरौवाच ज्ञानं परं स्वात्मरः प्रकाशं यदाह योगेश्वर ईश्वरस्ते वक्तुं भवानोर्हति यद्विष्णोः भृत्या स्वभृत्यार्थकृतश्चरन्ति. विदुरौवाच ज्ञानं परमं स्वात्मरः प्रकाशं यदाह योगेश्वर ईश्वरस्ते वक्तं भवानोर्हति वक्तुं भवानोर्हति यद्य विष्णोः Vritya Svavrityartha
Anji, that first line, param. I think second time when you said paramam, it's param.
Jnanam param swatmaraha prakasham. Thank you.
विदुरोवाच ज्ञानं परं स्वात्मनः प्रकाशं यदा व योगेश्वर ईश्वरस्ते वक्तुं भवानोर्हति यद्धि विष्णो भृत्या स्वभृत्यार्थकृतश्चरन्ति.
And the second line, la Vishnoho, Visarga Ganga. The Brityak means the ir instead of that.
Okay. वक्तुं ज्ञानं परं स्वात्मनः प्रकाशं यदा योगेश्वर ईश्वरस्ते वक्तुं भवानोर्हति यद्धि विष्णोः भृत्या स्वभृत्यार्थकृतश्चरन्ति.
Uddhavo vacha nanu te tattva samradhyah. Because we're going to put a comma, you add a visarga there. Samradhyah, comma. Rishih kaushara vonti me sakshat bhagavatadishto, one word. Bhagavata adishto, one word. Bhagavatadishto, comma. Martya lokam jihasata. Uddhavo vacha nanu te tattva samradhyah ऋषिः कौशारवोऽन्ति मे साक्षात् भगवतादिष्टो मर्त्यलोकं जिहासता.
उद्धव उवाच ननु ते तत्त्वसम्राध्यः ऋषिः कौशारवोऽन्ति मे साक्षात् भगवतोदिष्टो मर्त्यलोकं जिहासता.
भगवतादिष्टो, that last time.
भगवतादिष्टो. उद्धव उवाच ननु ते तत्त्वसम्राध्यः ऋषिः कौशारवोऽन्ति मे साक्षात् भगवतादिष्टो मर्त्यलोकं जिहासता.
ननु ते तत्त्वसम्राध्यः कौशारवोऽन्ति ते साक्षात् भगवतादिष्टो मर्त्यलोकं जिहासता. उद्धव उवाच ननु ते तत्त्वसम्राध्यः ऋषिः कौशारवोऽन्ति मे साक्षात् भगवतादिष्टो मर्त्यलोकं जिहासता.
Shri Shuka uvacha iti saha vidurena vishwamurtehe. Another visarga comma. Next on the word of the guna, there is a ir that will go away. Guna kathaya sudaya plavitoru tapaha kshanamiva puline yamasva sustam, comma, samushita aupagavir nisham tatoghat. Shri Shukam uvacha iti saha vidurena vishwamurtehe gunakataya sudaya plavitoru tapaha kshanamiva puline yamasva sustam samushita aupagavir nisham tatoghat.
श्रीशुक उवाच इति सह विदुरेण विश्वमूर्तेः गुणकदया सुदया प्लावितोरुतापः क्षणमिव पुलिने यमस्वसुस्तां सुमषित औभगविर्निशां ततोगात्. श्रीशुक उवाच इति सह विदुरेण विश्वमूर्तेः गुणकदया सुदया प्लावितोरुतापः क्षणमिव पुलिने यमस्वसुस्तां समुषित औभगविर्निशां ततोगात्.
इति सह विदुरेण विश्वमूर्तेः गुणकथया सुधया प्लावितोरुतापः क्षणमिव पुलिने यमस्वसुस्तां समुषित औपगविर्निशां ततोगात्. इति श्रीशुकोवाच इति सह विदुरेण विश्वमूर्तेः गुणकथया सुधया प्लावितोरुतापः क्षणमिव पुलिने यमस्वसुस्तां समुषित औपगविर्निशां ततोगात्.
Rajo vacha nidhanam upagateshu vrishni bhojeshu. So because we're going to put a comma there, the ish and the va will become a shu and a a. So first is vrishni bhojeshu, short u, comma. Next word will start with the a. Adhirata yutapa yutapeshu mukyah. Satu khatam avashishta uddhavo yat. You will have a double dha there. First put a it yat, comma. Next word will start with a ha. Harirapi tatyaja akritim tryadishaha. So what I was thinking is half class we'll do two times, and the next second half we'll just do one time. So next few minutes you can do one time. If you have to repeat something again, that's okay. You can say it 2 times. Okay. Rajovacha nidhanamupagatishu vrishniBhojeshu adhiratayutapayutapeshu mukyah satukathamapashishta uddhavo yat harirapitattyaja akritim tryadishaha.
Rajeshri, the Adhiratha Yudha or Yudha?
Yudhapa.
Yutapeshu.
They both are
Long.
You. That's both short.
Rajesh, youth pain kuduthiruku, pay podakudada.
Yeah, the first word is Yutapa, second is Yutapeshu.
Yutapa, okay.
Okay, first one is just Yutapa, second is Yutapeshu.
Thank you.
Rajovaja Nidanamopagadeshu VrishniBhojeshu Adhiratayudhapeshu mukyah Satu kadamavishishta uddhavo yad Harirabhitatyaja akritim tradishaha.
Go ahead. Oh, one time. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
ரெண்டாம் தரம் சொல்ல போறான்னு நினைச்சீங்க.
இல்ல, one time. Yeah.
निधनमुपगतेषु वृष्णिभोजेषु अधिरतयूथपयूथपेषु मुख्यः ततु कथमवशिष्ट युद्धवो यत् हरिरपि तत्यज आकृतिं त्रयदीशः निधनमुपगते.
One time, just one time. Shri Shuka uvacha Brahma shapapadeshena kalena mogha vanchitah samhritya swakulam noonam tyakshan deham achintayat. If you want to break it, that deham achintayat. Shri Shuka uvacha Brahma shapapadeshena kalena mogha vanchitah samhritya swakulam noonam tyakshan deham achintayat.
Shri Shuka uvacha Brahmashapapadeshena kalena mogha vanchitah samhritya sankulam noonam tyakshan deham achintayat.
Shri Shuka uvacha ब्रह्मशापापदेशेन कालेन मोघवाञ्छितः संहृत्य स्वकुलं नूनं त्यक्ष्यन् देहमचिन्तयत्.
अस्माल् लोकाद् उपर्रते मयि ज्ञानं मदाश्रयम् अर्हद् युद्धव वै साउंड अर्हद् युद्धव एवाधा double the sampratyatmavatam varaha. You cannot break that word. Sampratyatmavatam varaha. So all this place where the double the and ver is coming is uddhava, right? So you can just remember that, so you'll be able to say it properly. Asmal lokaduparate mayi jnanam madashrayam arhat yuddhava evadha sampratyatmavatam varaha.
Asmal lokaduparate mayi jnanam madashrayam arhat uddhava evadha sampratyatmavatam varaha.
आदुपरते मयि ज्ञानं मदाश्रयम् अर्हत्युद्धव एवाद्धा सम्प्रत्यात्मवतां वरः.
Nodhavonvapi, one word, nodhavonvapi manyuno, yad gunair naditah prabhu atho madvayunam lokam, grahayanniha tishtatu. Nodhavonvapi manyuno yad gunair naditah prabhu atho madvayunam lokam grahayanniha tishtatu.
Nodhavonabhimanyuno yadgunernardhita prabhuः adho madhyunam lokam grahayenniha tishtatu.
उद्धवोऽन्वपि मन्यूनो यद्गुणैर्नादितः प्रभुः अतो मद्वयुनं लोकं ग्राहयन्निव तिष्ठतु।
एवं त्रिलोक गुरुना संदिष्टः शब्द योनिना बदर्याश्रमम् आसाद्य, you can break it that ma, बदर्याश्रमम् आसाद्य हरिमीजे समाधिना। एवं त्रिलोक गुरुना संदिष्ट शब्द योनिना बदर्याश्रमम् आसाद्य हरिमीजे समाधिना।
एवं त्रिलोकगुरुणा सन्दिष्टशब्दयोनिना बदर्याश्रममासाद्ये हरिमीजे समाधिना।
That second line before the comma, asadya.
बदर्याश्रममासाद्य। Thank you.
लोकगुरुणा सन्दिष्टशब्दयोनिना बदर्याश्रममासाद्य हरिमीजे समाधिना।
Viduropyuddhavach. Okay, vidura api uddhava. 3 words coming there, but you have to say it together. Viduropyuddhavach shrutva, krishnasya paramatmanah क्रीडयोपात देहस्य कर्माणि श्लाघितानि च। विदुरोप्युद्धवात् श्रुत्वा कृष्णस्य परमात्मनः क्रीडयोपात देहस्य कर्माणि श्लाघितानि च।
विदुरोद्भववाच् श्रुत्वा कृष्णस्य परमात्मनः क्रीडयोपात देहस्य कर्माणि श्लाघितानि च।
उद्धवात् श्रुत्वा कृष्णस्य परमात्मनः क्रीडयोपातदेहस्य कर्माणि श्लाघितानि च।
देहन्यासं च तस्यैवं धीराणां धैर्यवर्धनम् अन्येषां दुष्करतरं पशूनां विक्लवात्मनाम्। देहन्यासं च तस्यैवं धीराणां धैर्यवर्धनम् अन्येषां दुष्करतरं पशूनां विक्लवात्मनाम्।
देहन्यासं च तस्यैवं धीराणां धैर्यवर्धनम् अन्येषां दुष्करतरं पशूनां विक्लवात्मनाम्।
देहन्यासं च तस्यैवं धीराणां धैर्यवर्धनम् अन्येषां दुष्करतरं पशूनां विक्लवात्मनाम्।
आत्मानं च कुरु श्रेष्ठ कृष्णेन मनसेक्षितं ध्यायन् गते भागवते रुरोद प्रेम विह्वलः। आत्मानं च कुरु श्रेष्ठ कृष्णेन मनसेक्षितं ध्यायन् गते भागवते रुरोद प्रेम विह्वलः।
आत्मानं च कुरु श्रेष्ठ कृष्णेन मनसेक्षितं ध्यायन् गते भागवते रुरोद प्रेम विह्वलः।
Manaji, the first word atmanam.
आत्मानं च कुरु श्रेष्ठ।
आत्मानं च कुरु श्रेष्ठ कृष्णेन मनसेक्षितं ध्यायन् गते भागवते रुरोद प्रेम विह्वलः।
कालिन्द्याः कतिभिः सिद्ध अहोभिर्भरतर्षभः प्रापद्यत स्वसरितं, because the visarga is there, स्वसरितं, यत्र मित्रासुतो मुनिः। कालिन्द्याः कतिभिः सिद्ध अहोभिर्भरतर्षभः प्रापद्यत स्वसरितं यत्र मित्रासुतो मुनिः।
कालिन्द्या कतिभिः सिद्धः अहोभिर्भरतर्षभ प्रापद्यत स्वसरितं यत्र मित्रासुतो मुनिः।
Ananchi, that siddha, there is no visarga there, okay? Siddha, and then after Bharatarshapah, there is a visarga. Siddha, just before the comma.
Oh, siddha, okay. Kalindya kadibhi siddha. Thank you, Rajesh.
या कतिभिः सिद्ध अहोभिर्भरतर्षभ प्रापद्यत स्वसरितं यत्र मित्रासुतो मुनिः।
And the first line in Bharatarshapah, visarga irukku.
भरतर्षभ.
इति श्रीमद् भागवते महापुराणे पारमहंस्यां संहितायां तृतीयस्कन्धे विदुरोद्धव संवादे चतुर्थोऽध्यायः।
इति श्रीमद्भागवते महापुराणे पारमहंस्यां संहितायां तृतीयस्कन्धे विदुरोद्धव संवादे चतुर्थोऽध्यायः।
इति श्रीमद्भागवते महापुराणे पारमहंस्यां संहितायां तृतीयस्कन्धे विदुरोद्धव संवादे चतुर्थोऽध्यायः।
Let me just switch halfway. Sudha, you can be a student, and Satya, you can be a student. अथ पञ्चमोऽध्यायः। श्रीशुक उवाच द्वारिद्युनद्या ऋषभः कुरूणां मैत्रेयम् आसीनम् अगाध. You can clearly break it at those places. मैत्रेयम् आसीनम् अगाध बोधम् क्षत्तोपसृत्याच्युत, one word, क्षत्तोपसृत्याच्युत भावशुद्धः पप्रच्छ सौशील्य गुणाभितृप्तः. You can say it twice. श्रीशुक उवाच द्वारिद्युनद्या ऋषभः कुरूणां मैत्रेयमासीनमगाधबोधम् क्षत्तोपसृत्याच्युत भावशुद्धः पप्रच्छ सौशील्य गुणाभितृप्तः.
श्रीशुक उवाच द्वारिद्युनद्या ऋषभः कुरूणां मैत्रेयमासीनमगाधबोधम् क्षत्तोपसृत्याच्युत भावशुद्धः पप्रच्छ सौशील्य गुणाभितृप्तः.
The Shuddha, second line, the comma, visarga.
Oh, Shuddha, okay. Srishuka uvacha द्वारिद्युनद्या ऋषभः कुरूणां मैत्रेयमासीनमगाधबोधं क्षत्तोपसृत्याच्युत भावशुद्धः पप्रच्छ सौशील्य गुणाभितृप्तः.
श्रीशुक उवाच द्वारिद्युनद्या ऋषभः कुरूणां मैत्रेयम् आसीनम् अगाधबोधं क्षत्तोपसृत्याच्युत भावशुद्धः पप्रच्छ सौशील्य गुणाभितृप्तः. श्रीशुक उवाच द्वारिद्युनद्या ऋषभः कुरूणां मैत्रेयमासीनमगाधबोधं क्षत्तोपसृत्याच्युत भावशुद्धः पप्रच्छ सौशील्य गुणाभितृप्तः.
विदुरोवाच सुखाय कर्माणि करोति लोको न तैस् सुखं वाण्यदुपारमं वा विन्देत भूयस्तत एव दुःखं यदत्र भुक्तं भगवान् वदेन्नः. विदुरोवाच सुखाय कर्माणि करोति लोको न तैः सुखं वाण्यदुपारमं वा विन्देत भूयस्तत एव दुःखं यदत्र युक्तं भगवान् वदेन्नः.
विदुरोवाच सुखाय कर्माणि करोति लोको न तैः सुखं वाण्यदुपारमं वा विन्देत भूयस्तत एव दुःखं यदत्र युक्तं भगवान् वदेन्नः. विदुरोवाच सुखाय कर्माणि करोति लोको न तैः सुखं वाण्यदुपारमं वा विन्देत भूयस्तत एव दुःखं यदत्र युक्तं भगवान् वदेन्नः.
विदुर उवाच सुखाय कर्माणि करोति लोको न तैः सुखं वाण्यदुपारं वा विन्देत भूयस्तत एव दुःखं यदत्र युक्तं भगवान् वदेन्नः.
That's the first line, वाण्यदुपारमं.
दुपारमं वा, ओके. विदुर उवाच सुखाय कर्माणि करोति लोको न तैः सुखं वाण्यदुपारमं वा विन्देत भूयस्तत एव दुःखं यदत्र युक्तं भगवान् वदेन्नः.
जनस्य कृष्णात् विमुखस्य दैवात्. So the that is there, we just going to break it, it, comma. Next word will start with the a. Adharma शीलस्य सुदुःखितस्य अनुग्रहायेव चरन्ति नूनं भूतानि भव्यानि जनार्दनस्य.
Janasya, one more time, can you say first line?
So Janasya Krishnat Vimukhasya Daivat it, and the one we just breaking it, it, comma. Next word will start with the a. Adharma Shilasya Su Dukkitasya. Are they easy to join that Shilasya and Su together? Then you'll be able to say it properly. Janasya Krishnad Vimukasya Daivat Adharmashilasya Sudukkitasya Anugrahayeha Charanti Nunam Bhutani Bhavyani Janardanasya.
Janasya Krishnad Vimukasya Daivat Adharmashilasya Sudukkitasya Anugrahayeha Charanti Nunam Bhutani Bhavyani Janardanasya. Janasya Krishnad Vimukasya Daivat Adharmashilasya Sudukkitasya Anugrahayeha Charanti Nunam Bhutani Bhavyani Janardanasya.
Janasya Krishnad Vimukasya Devat Adharmashilasya Suduskitasya Anugrahayeha Charanti Nunam Bhutani Bhavyani Janardanasya.
First line la Daivat before the comma.
Devat Surena. Janasya Krishnad Vimukasya Daivat Adharmashilasya Suduskitasya Anugrahayeha Charanti Nunam Bhutani Bhavyani Janardanasya.
Tat Sadhu Varyadisha Vartma Sham Naha Samradito Bhagavan Yena Pumsam Hridi Stito Yachati Bhakti Pute Jnanam Sa Tattvadigamam. One word. Tattvadigamam Puranam. Tat Sadhu Varyadisha Vartma Sham Naha Samradhito Bhagavan Yena Pumsam Kridistito Yachati Bhakti Pute Jnanam Satatvadhigamam Puranam.
Tat sadhu varyadisha vatma shamnaha samradito bhagavanyena pumsam hridistito yachati bhakti pute jnanam satatvadigamam puranam. Tat sadhu varyadisha vatma shamnaha samradito bhagavanyena pumsam hridistito yachati bhakti pute jnanam satatvadigamam puranam.
Tat sadhu varyadisha vartma shamnaha samradhito bhagavan yena pumsam hridistito yachati bhakti pute jnanam satatvadigamam puranam. Tat sadhu varyadisha vartma shamnaha samradhito bhagavan yena pumsam hridistito yachati bhakti pute jnanam satatvadigamam puranam.
Karoti Karmani Kritavataro Yanyatma Tantro Bhagavans Triyadishaha, same Triyadishaha, Yatha Sasarjagra Idam Nirihaha, Samstapya Brittim Jagato Vidhatte. Karoti Karmani Kritavataro Yanyatma Tantro Bhagavans Triyadishaha, Yatha Sasarjagra Idam Nirihaha, Samstapya Brittim Jagato Vidhatte.
Karoti karmani kritavataro yanyatma tantro bhagavams trayadishaha yatha sasarjagra idam nirihaha samstapya vrittim jagato vidatte. Karoti karmani kritavataro yanyatma tantro bhagavams trayadishaha yatha sasarjagra idam nirihaha samstapya vrityam jagato vidatte.
And the tra, you're saying the full tra there. Traya, you're saying is triya.
Okay. Bhagavams traya.
You have to practice, and that word is going to keep coming like 100 times. So keep practicing that. Anyway.
Okay.
Karoti karmani kritavataro yanyatma tantro bhagavams triyadishaha yatha sasarjagra idam nirihaha samsthapya vrittim jagato vidatte. Karoti karmani kritavataro yanyatma tantro bhagavams triyadishaha yatha sasarjagra idam nirihaha samsthapya vrittim jagato vidatte.
Yatha punas swe kha idam niveshya shete guhayam sa nivritta vrittihi Yogeshwaradhishwara eka etat. So the again put it a it under comma etat. Next word starts with the a. Anupravishto bahuda yathasit. Yata punasvekha idam niveshya shete guhayam sanivritta vrittihi yogeshwaradhishwara eka etate anupravishto bahudha yathasit.
यथा पुनस्वेक इदं निवेश्य शेते गुहायां निवृत्तवृत्तिः योगेश्वरादीश्वर एक एतत् अनुप्रविष्टो बहुधा यथासीत् यथा पुनस्वेक इदं निवेश्य शेते गुहायां निवृत्तवृत्तिः योगेश्वरादीश्वर एक एतत् अनुप्रविष्टो बहुधा यथासीत्
यथा पुनस्वेख इदं निवेश्य शेते गुहायां सनिवृत्तवृत्तिः योगेश्वराधीश्वर एक एतत् अनुप्रविष्टो बहुधा यतासीत् यथा पुनस्वेख इदं निवेश्य शेते गुहायां सनिवृत्तवृत्तिः योगेश्वराधीश्वर एक एतत् अप्रविष्टो बहुधा यतासीत् एतत् अनुप्रविष्टो बहुधा यतासीत्
क्रीडन् विधत्ते द्विज गो सुराणां क्षेमाय कर्माण्यवतार कर्माण्यवतार भेदैः मनो न तृप्यत्यपि शृण्वतां नः सुश्लोक मौलेश्चरितामृतानि शॉर्ट ई क्रीडन् विधत्ते द्विजगोसुराणां क्षेमाय कर्माण्यवतार भेदैः मनो न तृप्यत्यपि शृण्वतां नः सुश्लोकमौलेश्चरितामृतानि
क्रीडन् विधत्ते द्विजगोसुराणां क्षेमाय कर्माण्यवतार भेदैः मनो न तृप्यत्यपि शृण्वतां नः सुश्लोकमौलेश्चरितामृतानि क्रीडन् विधत्ते द्विजगोसुराणां क्षेमाय कर्माण्यवतार भेदैः मनो न तृप्यत्यपि शृण्वतां नः सुश्लोकमौल्यैश्चरितामृतानि
क्रीडन् विधत्ते द्विजगोसुराणां क्षेमाय कर्माण्यवतार भेदैः मनो न तृप्यत्यपि शृण्वतां नः सुश्लोकमौलेश्चरितामृतानि क्रीडन् विधत्ते द्विजगोसुराणां क्षेमाय कर्माण्यवतार भेदैः मनो न तृप्यत्यपि शृण्वतां नः सुश्लोकमौलेश्चरितामृतानि
यैस्तत्त्व भेदैर् अधिलोक नाथो लोकान alokan, easy to break it that way, lokan alokan sah lokapalan achiklipadyatra, you cannot break that word, so achiklipadyatra ki sarva sattva, put a plus, nikaya bhedodi kritah pratitah. From that word you cannot break it. Yeah, so just one song, Sudha. यैस्तत्त्वभेदैरधिलोकनाथो लोकान् सह लोकपालान् अचीक्लिपद्यत्र हि सर्वसत्त्व निकाय भेदोऽधिकृतः प्रतीतः
यैस्तत्त्वभेदैरधिलोकनाथो लोकान् सह लोकपालान् अचीक्लिपद्यत्र हि सर्वसत्त्वनिकाय भेदोऽधिकृतः प्रतीतः
यैस्तत्त्वभेदैरधिलोकनाथो लोकान् अलोकान् सह लोकपालान् अचीक्लिपद्यत्र हि सर्वसत्त्वनिकाय भेदोऽधिकृतः प्रतीतः
Rajesh,
and the
இதுல
second
third second lineல வந்து அச்சி ருப்பத்யத்ரான்னு போட்டிருக்கு.
தமிழ்ல ருப்பத்
அது அந்த ல and r you cannot say that in Sanskrit as r, you know what I'm saying, so that just like how l and r becomes mr, right, so mari l and r just l, it just that ir sound cannot come there and there, okay, so adha achi clipat and idu Okay, but the word is ripat. And the r sound is there. Okay, that's correct only. But on the Sanskrit, the l and it comes a lipat. Lipat. Achik lipat.
Achik lupati.
Rajesh,
Sarva Sattva, after that, is it a plus sign or comma?
Yeah, a plus sign there. Sarva Sattva plus sign.
Thank
you. Yena prajanamuta atma karma, comma, रूपाभिधानां च भिदां व्यदत्त डबलत नारायणो विश्वसृडात्म योनिहि. So the re that is there, we're going to break it, put a visarga, comma, yonihi, comma. Next word will start with the a. Etacha no varnaya vipravargya. Yena prajanamuta atma karma रूपाभिधानां च भिदां व्यदत्त नारायणो विश्वसृडात्म योनिहि एतच्च नो वर्णय विप्रवर्य.
येन प्रजानामुत आत्मकर्म रूपाभिधानां च भिदां व्यदत्त नारायणो विश्वसृडात्मयोनिः एतच्च नो वर्णय विप्रवर्य.
येन प्रजानामुत आत्मकर्म रूपाभिधानां च भिदां व्यदत्त नारायणो विश्वसृडात्मयोनिः एतच्च नो वर्णय विप्रवर्य.
என்னோட ப்ளஸ் போட்டிருக்கு ராஜேஷ். The third line கொஞ்சம் சொல்லுங்களேன், வேற மாதிரி இருக்கு புக்ல.
நாராயணோ விஸ்வஸ்ருடாத்ம யோனிஹி.
Okay, புக்லலாம் ஸ்ருகாத்ம யோனிஹின்னு கொடுத்திருக்கு ராஜேஷ்.
யோனி.
Yeah, just change it to da. I don't know what the difference of da there is. Just change it to da. Sridatma.
எனக்கு இந்த ஃபர்ஸ்ட் லைன் ஏன பிரஜானாமுத ஆத்ம கர்ம ஃபர்ஸ்ட் லைன் போட்டிருக்கு. அதுவா அது?
That's okay. We'll pause there. Yeah, Atma Karma. Pause there.
Okay, thanks.
Paravaresham Bhagavan Pratani Shorty Shrutani me Vyasa Mukada Bhikshnam Atrupnuma Shulla Sukavahanam, Teshamrite Krishna Kathamritaughat. Paravaresham Bhagavan Pratani Shrutani me Vyasamukada Bhikshnam Atrupnumakshulya Sukavahanam Teshamrite Krishna Katamritaughāt.
Paravaresham Bhagavan Pratani Shrutani me Vyasamukada Bhikshnam Atrupnumakshulya Sukavahanam Teshamrite Krishna Katamritaughāt.
परावरेषां भगवन् व्रतानि श्रुतानि मे व्यासमुखाद भीक्ष्णम् अतृप्नुम शुल्लसुखावहानां तेषामृते कृष्णकथामृतौगात्. राजेश, व्रतानि பக்கத்துல ப்ராஸ் இருக்குல ஃபர்ஸ்ட் லைன்.
After व्रतानि, yeah, comma. Kastripnuyat, okay, tripnu. Kastripnuyat tirtha padobhidhanat, comma, satreshu vas suribhir idyamanat. It's easy to break at the tra. Suribhir idyamanat yah karna nadhim purushasya yato, comma, bhava pradham geharatim chinatti. Double it's there. Kastripnuyat tirtha padobhidhanat satreshu vasuribiridyamanat yah karna nadhim purushasya yato bhava pradam geharatim chinatti.
Kastrupnuyat tirtha padobhidhanat satreshu vasuribiridyamanat yah karna nadhim purushasya yato bhava pradam geharatim chinatti.
कस्त्रप्नुया तीर्थपदोभिधानात् सत्रेषु वस्सुरिभिरीड्यमानात् यः कर्णनाडीं पुरुषस्य यातो भवप्रदां गेहरतिं छिनत्ति.
The su and the long u, okay, suribir.
Inga?
First line, last word.
Suribir.
All right, so we'll just take 5 minutes. I'll just tell the story till like about 15 or something, and then we'll switch. Okay, so here now, Vidura is coming to meet Maitreya, right? So we saw questions getting asked at several points so far. First was that Suta Pauranika, Saunaka Rishis asked Suta Pauranika a whole bunch of questions. We saw that in the first chapter. And then we saw Shuka Brahmam, Parikshit asking Shuka Brahmam a lot of questions in the second chapter, second canto. Now, in the third canto, the same questions are going to come because essentially at the end of the day, everybody has the same questions, right? So up to like about 3.15, some of it is going to be a little bit of the repeat, and then only the creation. We saw a little bit of the creation formation in the second skandam. We're going to see a little bit of that same thing come again in the third skandam as well, which is Maitreya telling it to Vidura. And then then it's going to move forward, right? So some of it is going to sound like it's repeat, but it is different perspectives of the same thing, right? So anyway, so Vidura, he's coming to meet Maitreya on the banks of the Ganges in Haridwar. That's where Maitreya is there. That's where he's meditating, right? Now, who is this Maitreya? No, Maitreya is a direct disciple of Parashara, who's Vyasa's father. So whatever Vyasa has learned from Parashara, Maitreya has also learned. So he's also equally competent. He's also equally intelligent, right? So that's why he's also able to absorb whatever Krishna is telling to be able to convey it back to Vidura and everybody else. Now, Vidura first starts, Vidura Vacha, he asks the usual questions. He says, everybody in this world does things to either attain happiness or to reduce the sorrow. There's only two reasons why people do these things, either to get more happy or to eliminate some sorrow that they have. But he says, but what always happens is things only get worse with what they are doing. It never improves. It always gets worse. So he says, what should one do for true happiness? Because whatever fruitive activities everybody is doing is not helping. That is one. And second, he says very similar to what was previously in the second sometime we said, was saying that great people like you, Maitreya, you are all existing only to communicate these things for us. So everybody can learn. So I really want you to show compassion to me and explain to me all of these things. And he says, because Maitreya is very much on the Bhakti Margam, so Vidura is saying, tell me what is the right way to practice Bhakti? Because he says only through true Bhakti one can achieve, because he says this understanding the Lord is extremely complex to the extent that even Brahma doesn't understand truly, right? So how can a normal person like us who are so much low try to understand it philosophically? It says it's impossible to understand because nobody else can understand, right? So he says the only way is by true bhakti, you realize it within yourself, and then Bhagavan itself will show you the stuff. That's the only way to understand. You cannot think you can understand it through your intellect, right? That's what even Vidura is saying. We cannot understand it through the intellect. You give me enough bhakti so I can feel Bhagavan inside of me. Then Bhagavan will open it up for me to understand. Until that happens, I'm not going to be able to understand, right? So then he asks the usual questions which says, Bhagavan has taken so many incarnations. You please talk to me about all the incarnations he has actually taken. He has created so many planetary systems and all of these worlds where different kinds of people actually exist, different types of beings exist. Talk to me about all of those things. Then all the different forms he has created. And then he says, I have heard from Parashara and from Vyasa, right, about all these different statures, different layers of people being very intellectual, demigods, all of that. I've heard all of those things to some extent. So I already have some knowledge of it, but I still do not have the Krishna Ratamritam, somewhere it will come. I still am missing that thing, right? So he says, I want you to really double down on it, which is very similar to what Narada was telling Vyasa, right? So he says, please talk to me more about everything that Krishna has actually done. And then he talks about, he says, he compares to Vyasa and says, Vyasa wrote Mahabharata because the common man can easily relate to the common man's problems. When you talk about two brothers fighting, people can relate to it. When you talk about somebody asking for some land, people can relate to it. So he wrote it in a way that people can relate. But really what he did was within Mahabharata, he embedded the Krishna Katha of Bhagavad Gita. The purpose of reading Mahabharata is so that you get to that Krishna Katha soon. right? Not you worry about the mundane activities of things which are going on in Mahabharata, right? So he says every time when people hear it, the purpose is to get there. So he says that is the only way out. Either you can directly start off with understanding this Krishna Katha, or you will go through it to Mahabharata. So he says that's what, I wanted to spend more time on, the Krishna related activities. And then, he goes more, he says, talk about all the manifestations. Why does the God takes different avatarams? Tell me about each of those things, different the material. How is nature created? How is the cosmos created? Every question that Parikshit asked and what the previous people asked, he asked the exact same questions of all of those things, right? And then Maitreya when he starts off, he first says the usual thing which you heard so many times is the questions you ask are apt questions. It's worth answering. Because it's not useless questions, because it's going to help everybody. It's going to help all the people in the world. And then he says, Vidura, you do not realize, this is Maitreya telling, you do not realize that you are actually a rebirth of Yama. He says there, he says, it will come in, I think, 20 or something, it will come, Mandavya Shapa Bhagavan in stanza 20. So he'll give a history. We don't know what we were in the previous birth, unless you go to Nadi Josiam, and somehow the Nadi Josiam is able to tell you a little bit accurately where you are. But these people, these great saints can say. So Maitreya says, Vidura, you are actually knowledgeable. He says, you were Lord Yama. What happened was, the story goes that there was a rishi called Mandwa Rishi. That rishi, very famous rishi, one day some robbers were coming and they were stealing some king's property. They end up hiding in the rishi's ashramam along with the items. The king's people come and they catch the robbers and they catch the item. They catch the rishi also because they're hiding in your property. They take him to the king. So at that time, this is a very, very famous rishi, right? Very powerful rishi. So they're taking the spear and they just begin to poke that rishi, right? So at that time, the king comes and stops saying, what are you doing? He's such a famous rishi. Don't poke him. But he gets a poke. So this rishi gets very upset, right? So he goes to Dharmaraja at some point and he says, you are supposed to give people things based on their karma. I have done so many good things. How can I be brought down and somebody is poking me with a spear? That is unfair. So that Dharmaraja says, no. He says, when you were small, at some age, you took an ant once and you took a stick and then you poked that ant with the stick. He says, you have to pay for that crime. You cannot go unescaped, right? So that's why you did not get a full pierce like the other people got, but you did get a poke. That is because to show you how much it pains when somebody pokes. So that is a punishment this rishi gets, but the rishi gets very upset. He says, you have to, I was a child. A child may not know things. How can you write laws that a child who doesn't know anything is going to get punished later? So he curses Yamadharmaraja to say, you are going to be born as in the clan of a Shudra and a Brahmana mixed for 100 years. So that's why Vidura is born, because he's born to Vyasa. Vyasa, like I said long time back, Vyasa then has a union with Pandu's wife, Pandu's mother, Dhritarashtra's mother, and that's so Vidura is also born because he's the son of a maid servant, a Dasi. That's why Duryodhana also calls him Dasi Putra, right? So we saw at that time. So that's so he's born. So he lives for 100 years. So, but he already has a lot of that knowledge, but that's why he is also blessed enough to hear this information, right? Otherwise, he's not going to be blessed to hear from Maitreya. He should have done a lot of good karma, which he has done as Dharmaraja to be able to get all this. So that's what goes until about 20. I'll stop on the story here because later on he starts talking about the material creation, which we'll cover in the next class. Okay, so all of us who are poked ants at some point, we are going to get a poke. Okay, Priya Sriram, you can be a student, and Sriram, you can Niki.
Yeah, Rajesh.
Okay. We stopped at 12 or 11?
11.
11 we stopped. Munir vibakshur bhagavat gunanam, sakhapi te bharatamaha krishnaha yasmin nrinam gramya sukhanuvadaihi putta visarga, on top of the ma, you'll have a ir that will go away. Matir grihita nu hare katayam. Munir vivakshur bhagavad gunanam सखापि ते भारतमाह कृष्णः यस्मिन् नृणां ग्राम्य सुखानुवादैः मतिर्गृहीतानुहरेः कथायाम्
मुनिर्विवक्षुर्भगवद्गुणानां सखापि ते भारतमाह कृष्णः यस्मिन् नृणां ग्राम्यसुखानुवादैः मतिर्गृहीतानुहरेः कथायाम्. Two times?
Two times.
मुनिर्विवक्षुर्भगवद्गुणानां सखापि ते भारतमाह कृष्णः यस्मिन् नृणां ग्राम्यसुखानुवादैः मतिर्गृहीतानुहरेः कथायाम्. Rajesh, a quick question. No, when he asked, it was done at a very early age. What did he say for that?
No, Yama does not reply. He says, whatever karma you have done is done. It doesn't matter whether it's like, but at that age, see, when a 3-year child does it, it doesn't know anything. So up to 5 years, they say you don't accumulate any karma, 5 or 6 or some number like that, because you don't have the intelligence to be able to decipher good versus bad. At some point in your childhood, you are hurting, right? So at whatever that age limit is. So the Dharma says you have to bear it. Even though you've done all these great things, you still have committed thing, you have to get it. Yeah.
We are still counting.
I know, I'm so scared right now.
Inime, focus on the future.
Juvenile crime. मुनिर्विवक्षुर्भगवद्गुणानां सगाभिते भारतमाह कृष्णः यस्मिन् नृणानां ग्राम्य सुगानुवादैः मतिर्गृहीतानुहरेः कथायाम्.
Second line, first word, yasmin nrinam.
मुनिर्विवक्षुर्भगवद्गुणानां सगाभिते भारतमाह कृष्णः यस्मिन् नृणानां ग्राम्य सुगानुवादैः मतिर्गृहीतानुहरेः कथायाम्.
Nrinanam, you are saying that, and the last word, it's the first. It's just yasmin nrinam.
Yasmin, okay, yasmin nrinam, okay.
Sa shraddha-dhanasya vivardhamana, viraktim anyatra karoti pumsah haref padhanusmriti nirvritasya, samasta dukkatyayamashu dhatte. Sa shraddha-dhanasya vivardhamana viraktim anyatra karoti pumsah haref padhanusmriti nirvritasya samasta dukkatyayamashu dhatte.
Sa shraddhadanasya vivardhamana viraktimanyatra karoti pumsah haref padanusmriti nirvritasya samasta dukkatyayamashu dhatte. Sa shraddhadanasya vivardhamana viraktimanyatra karoti pumsah haref padanusmriti nirvritasya samasta dukkatyayamashu dhatte.
Sahasradhanasya vivartamana viraktimanyatra karoti pumsah haref padanusmriti nirvritasya samasta dukkatyayamashu dhatte. Sahasradhanasya vivartamana viraktimanyatra karoti pumsah haref padanusmriti nirvritasya samasta dukkatyayamashu dhatte.
Tan chochya in sound. Tan chochya shochyan abhidhonu shoche. You can break it that ma. Shochyan abhidhonu shoche, hare kathayam vimukana ghena khinoti devo nimishastu. One word. Devo nimishastu yesham. Put a im there, Next word starts with a. Ayur britha vada gati smritinam. Tan chochya shocyana vidhonu shoche hare katayam vimukana ghena khinoti devo nimishastu yesham ayurbrita vada gati smritinam.
Tan chochya shocyana vidhonu shoche hare katayam vimukana ghena khinoti devo nimishastu yesham ayurvrita vada gati smritinam. Tan chochya shocyana vidhonu shoche हरेः कथायां विमुखानघेन क्षिणोति देवो निमिषस्तु येषाम् आयुर्वृतावादगतिः स्मृतीनाम्
Sochyanan vido Sochyanana.
Sochyan.
Oh, sorry. Sochyan abito no soshe. Are kadayam vimukana ena shanodi devo nimishastu esham ayurprada vadaga kadi smritinam.
Rajesh, I have a question. The last line, is it ayur or is it ayur? Is it a long or
no, short? Ayur.
Thank you.
Sanchocha sochanan vido no sose are kadayam vimukana kena chinodi devoni nimishastu esham ayurvrada vadakadi smritinam.
She's kind of continuing this conversation regarding that Mahabharata and Gita being embedded, saying that, like sometimes we worry about sins you're committed, but he says people have committed so much sins that they don't even recognize that something like this has to be done, right? So he says, even though Vyasa wrote the Mahabharata, he embedded the Bhagavad Gita inside of that. People, instead of spending time devoted themselves, right, they keep focusing on the Ayuhu. They keep spending their entire life on Vada, on debates, on philosophical things without focusing on what is important on Bhakti. Right? So he says, because they just committed so much sins that they are not even getting an opportunity, right? Tadasya kausharava sharma dhatuhu visarga comma. On top of the ha, there is a ir that will go away. Hare katameva katasu saram udhritya pushpebya ivarta bandho, comma, shivaya nah kirtaya tirtha kirtehe. Just beautiful line. I'll just say that one thing. He says, just like how a bee or bees go from each of the flowers just to pluck the honey from it and discard the rest. He says, similarly, you go tell me all this Hari Katha, which is the best, which is like nectar, right? And ignore everything else. I'm not interested in all the other mundane material things which are around that. Tadasya kausharava sharma dhatuhu hare katameva kata susaram Udhritya pushpebya ivarta bandho shivaya nah kirtaya tirtha kirtehe.
तदस्य कौशारवशर्मदातुः हरेः कथामेव कथासु सारम् उद्धृत्य पुष्पेभ्य इवार्तबन्धो शिवाय नः कीर्तयतीर्थकीर्तेः तदस्य कौशारवशर्मदातुः हरेः कथामेव कथासु सारम् उद्धृत्य पुष्पेभ्य इवार्तबन्धो शिवाय नः कीर्तयतीर्थकीर्तेः
Tatasya kausharava sarmataduhu are kadameva kada susuram udrutya pushpepya ivarta bandho sivayana kirtaya tirtha kirtehe.
In the first line, like kathasu saram.
Okay. Tatasya kausharava sarmataduhu are kadameva kada susaram Udrutya pushpepya ivarta bandho Sivayanah kirtaya dirtha kirtehe.
Sa vishwa janma sthiti samyamarthe, kritavatara pragrihita shaktihi chakara karmanyati purushani long u, yanishwarah kirtaya tani mahyam. Sa vishwajanmastiti samyamarte kritavatara pragrihita shaktihi chakara karmanyati purushani yanishwarah kirtayatani mahyam. Here just one time.
Sa vishwajanmastiti samyamarte kritavatara pragrihita shaktihi chakara karmanyati purushani yanishwarah kirtayatani mahyam.
Savisvajanmasti tisamya marde kritavadara prakriti प्रकृति शक्तिः सकार कर्मण्यादि पुरुषाणि यानीश्वर कीर्तय तानि मह्यम्.
The second line first said what? Karmanyati.
सकार कर्माण्यति पुरुषाणि.
Shri Shuka uvacha sa evam bhagavan prishtah kshatra kausharavir munihi pumsam nishreya sartena tamaha bahumanayan. Shri Shuka uvacha sa evam bhagavan prishtah kshatra kausharavir munihi pumsam nishreya sartena tamaha bahumanayan.
श्रीशुक उवाच स एव भगवान् पृष्टः क्षत्रा कौशारविर्मुनिः पुंसां निःश्रेयसार्थेन तमाह बहुमानयन्.
And the second word, sa evam. You said eva, evam. Okay.
स एवम्. Okay.
श्रीशुक उवाच स एवं भगवान् पृष्टः क्षत्रा कौशारविर्मुनिः पुंसां निःश्रेयसार्थेन तमाह बहुमानयन्.
Maitreyo vacha sadhu prishtam tvaya sadho, lokan sadvanu grinnata kirtim vitanvata loke, atmanodhoksha jatmanah. That S symbol is coming, so we'll say it together. Atmanodhoksha.
Rajesh, for a quick question. And the Lokan kapra or what is no different.
Lokan. Okay. If in case you have sadhu anugrinnata, is that what you have?
Grihnatan potrukku. Grihnata illa. Grihnatan potrukku enoda idhula.
And the ich and the h வந்து கொஞ்சம் silent அந்த இடத்துல, right? So it becomes grinnata. And the s it's, you're right, half ha இருக்கு. Say grihnata, அது கொஞ்சம் h is little bit of a silent h அந்த இடத்துல. Okay. You don't have to say grih. Fulla அப்படி சொல்ல வேண்டாம். Grinnata, little h is good. Either is okay. It's not technically wrong too much. Maitreyo vacha sadhu prishtam tvaya sadhu lokan sadvanu grihnata kirtim vitanvata loke atmano dhoksha jatmanah.
मैत्रेय उवाच साधु पृष्टं त्वया साधो लोकान् साध्वनुगृह्णता कीर्तिं वितन्वता लोके आत्मनोधोक्षजात्मनः.
मैत्रेय उवाच साधु पृष्टं द्वया साधो लोकान् सात्वनुगृह्णता कीर्तिं विदन्वदा लोके आत्मनोदोक्षजात्मनः.
Naitach chitram tvayi kshattah, put a visarga comma. Next on top of the ba, there's a ir that will go away. Badarayana viryaje grihito nanya bhavena, yat tvaya haririshwarah. Naitach chitram tvayi kshattah badarayana viryaje grihito nanya bhavena yatvaya haririshwarah.
नैतच्चित्रं त्वयि क्षप्तः बादरायण वीर्यजे गृहीतोऽनन्यभावेन यत्त्वया हरिरीश्वरः.
नैतच्चित्रं त्वयि क्षप्तः पादरायेण वीर्यचे गृहीतोऽनन्यभावेन यत्त्वया हरिरीश्वरः.
The second line after the comma, Badarayana viryaje.
Badarayana viryache.
Just do one more and stop. Mandavya shapat bhagavan, praja samyamano yamaha bratuhu. You say that visarga because sha is coming. Kshetre bhujishyayam, jatas satyavati sutat. So this is where he's saying about the curse he had. Mandavya shapat bhagavan praja samyamano yamaha bratuhu kshetre bhujishyayam jatas satyavati sutat.
माण्डव्य शापात् भगवान् प्रजा संयमनो यमः भ्रातुः क्षेत्रे भुजिष्यायां जातः सत्यवती सुतात्.
माण्डव्यास माण्डव्यासपात् भगवान् प्रजा संयमनो यमः प्रादुः क्षेत्रे भुजिष्यायां जातः सत्यवदी सुदात्.
And the first word is Shapat, Mandavya Shapat.
Mandavya Shapat Bhagavan.
Yeah. Okay, we'll stop here. Shri Hare Namaha, Shri Hare Namaha, Shri Hare Namaha. Gopika Jeevana Smaranam Govinda Govinda. Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai. Ahena vacha manasendriye va buddhyatmana va prakrite swabhavad. Karomi yatyat sakalam parasmai narayanaayeti samarpayami.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you,
everyone.
Rajesh. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Rajesh.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raj.
Thank you,
I was
Rajesh.
just remembering one in the Gajendra Mokshatla where that that Gandharva ends up pulling the Devala Rishi's leg, right? All he did was just pull. But I think it's a combination of what sin you commit and to whom you commit to. Little bit of that also matters, I guess, because in most
Rajesh,
of
no hope until Mahapralayam, Rajesh.
Like,
No, I read one interesting thing. I don't know if it's true or not, right? But it's just maybe just a joke. So it says, you think of like a U-shaped tube, okay? And you imagine that one half of it, you have all the pavam you have committed. One half of it, you have all the punyam you have committed so far, right? And that assumes it's a fixed length tube though. So if somebody was telling, hey, you put more punyam from the other side of the tube, it has to push this pavam out quicker because more punyam is getting accumulated, right? But somebody who's doing more pavam even now, that pavam keeps coming from the left. So he's all enjoying all the good things, but he's actually accumulating a lot of the pavam. But that, of course, assumes that it is a fixed length tube, but I don't think it's a fixed length tube. The tube is long enough. You accumulate more pavam, it just keeps piling up, right? So, anyway.
But they say when you read Bhagavatam or when you listen to somebody, you are all pavam good leave.
Slowly,
Yeah.
right? It's like
It's
not...
almost left. We finished 2 chapters now.
Yeah, it does, but it's also, you have to also realize you cannot commit more, right? That's why it's very important. Whatever you have done, you cannot go fix it anymore, right? So you do as much good things, but you learn from that mistakes. And
we really don't know how to do bad things.
Yeah, that's why doing such things will help you prevent you from committing more, which is the most important aspect at this point, right?
Yes.
I think of you every day. Oh, Rajesh told me.
No, Rajesh has gone beyond the punyam limit.
Karma is waiting. I have to go to the kitchen to clean. So the karma never lets you go. So
that is
I have to go do my duty.
Duty. That's why. Good karma dispense. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.